We're going to start the Horry County Solid Waste Authority regular meeting Tuesday, November the 21st, 2016. I will do the invocation, and if Mr. Bo Ives will do the Pledge of Allegiance, if you'll bow your heads. Lord, we're meeting here today to conduct business. Please guide our hearts in all matters and in our mind in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. In your name we ask, amen.
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 Please stand. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we need approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is passed. We need approval of the minutes of October 24th, 2017, our regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The agenda is, the approval of those minutes have passed. We now have public input. Mr. Andrew Quigley, Director, Charleston County Environmental Management. We would like to invite you to the podium, and we really appreciate you joining us today.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, members of the committee, Mr. Executive Director. Thank you very much for inviting us here. Joining me today is my Assistant Director, Tanya Lott, and we are really happy that you've asked us to come, and we're also value our relationship with you, and on behalf of the County Council, they're very appreciative of the intergovernmental agreement that has been approved by our two governing bodies to help Charleston through this difficult time without a materials recovery facility. Before you, Madam Chairman, you have a outline of a presentation that I'm going to talk about, and I just want to kind of go over a few key things. First is I want to talk about our key dates, and that's the intergovernmental agreement went into effect on August of 2015, and at the request of Charleston County, you also approved our first 6-month extension that we're currently operating under, and that expires the end of January. Last month, at the end of the month, we've provided you a request for a second 6-month extension, the second of 3 that are outlined in our intergovernmental agreement with you. And that request is to be effective February 1st through the end of July of 2018. The agreement, is my understanding, still provides for one more extension, which we would then ask a request of that to be made sometime in April or May, I guess, in accordance with the agreement, which would be for another 6 months, ending January of 2019. So that's kind of where the county believes we are with respect to our relationship. Since that time, we've provided you approximately, we delivered about 75,000 tons of recyclables under this agreement to you. The changes of that have also occurred under this new agreement where we are taking back our residue share that's provided for. 100% of our residue is coming back to Charleston County. Wanted to give you a kind of a highlight, if I could, as to where we are with the project. In April of this year, the County Council approves the construction and equipment contracts. And in June of 2017, the county entered into a guaranteed maximum price agreement with Mashburn Construction, who's building the facility. And a purchase order was issued to Machinix, who is, in fact, providing the equipment. So again, Charleston County is doing things a little differently. We are having someone build the facility, and we're having someone else equip the facility. And the Machinix is going to be providing us the equipment. Right now, they're scheduled to deliver equipment in February. We obviously will be making some changes to those dates to extend that on. But so far, the county has committed to them around almost $4 million in terms of payments to Machinics in anticipation under the contract. In August of 2017, work was suspended on the site due to unsuitable soil. And in November of 2017, both Mashburn and our soils consultant, Terracon, agreed to enter into an agreement to remove and replace the unsuitable soil, and that is given 90 days to be completed. We expect, at the latest, March of 2018, to resume construction on the site and look forward to a spring 2019 substantial completion. Now, before our meeting, a couple of y'all asked me questions with regard to kind of how we got there, which I'm prepared to discuss with you. The building was specified under a request for proposal that was issued, I want to say, January of 2016. I joined Charleston County in May of 2016. There was a committee that recommended Mashburn to be selected, and that RFP required that a shallow foundation slab be used for the construction. And that was the recommendation of the soils consultant, Terracon. The contractor was selected, and he had proposed that we use tilt-up panel walls to construct the MRF, and this is being provided by their subcontractor, Citadel. I don't know if you all are familiar with tilt-up panels, but what they do is they go up quickly. However, they are concrete, large structures that need a very stable structure. And the reason why the contractor wanted to do that was that he could guarantee that the sides would go up relatively rapidly, and that's the key thing to enclose the building. The guaranteed price that we negotiated with them included the shallow foundation. In August, the contractor identified several site locations on our site where the presence of debris was found. This debris inhibited them from doing soil borings. They would go down 10 feet. They would hit something, rock. They would hit timber, soils that, according to our soils consultant, should have been remediated. Our general contractor, Mashburn, and Terracon agreed to a revised work plan. And what that means is that our soils consultant is responsible for the removal of all the soil on the site down to almost 30 feet and replacing that with suitable soil for construction. All of that is being done without additional expense to the county, because we relied upon the soils consultant's recommendation when we issued the RFP. And that's where we are today. They have started the they've excavated all around the edge of the building, the foundation down to 15 feet. They have found some more roots. They found some concrete bumpers. They found some logs. They have not found a lot of stuff, though. I must admit, I was surprised. You go out to the site. Yesterday, I walked it. I saw some roots, some timbers. Quite frankly, I've built transfer stations on soils like that a lot worse than what this is. But needless to say, the county relied on that to provide a suitable soil. And again, because of the method of construction with the tilt-up panels, you need a very stable foundation. And there are no piles that were, no piles were designed in the foundation. This was shallow slabs. And perhaps we may get to some resolution of that with respect to some piles. We're looking, our project management team, the county has a department that runs these constructions, and they are looking at perhaps an alternative to that would speed up the process quite a bit, shorten the 90 days. But right now, the work plan agreement is agreed to between the county, Mashburn, and the soils consultant is for 90 days to remove and replace the soils. So that puts us back on schedule, well, puts us back on a schedule to start in March, and we're looking for about a year of construction from that. So obviously, as we look at our agreements, there is going to be 30, 60 days of slippage from our third extension request, and perhaps we could address that. We'll know much better when we make that third extension request in May, and we can certainly demonstrate the building going up, foundations poured, equipment being delivered, and in a much better. But the county has committed nearly $4 million to Machinix for equipment. We are into this to do this. I also want you to know that the county, as I said, we are greatly appreciative of the authority and what you've done, working with us. And if situation exists again in the future for you all, much like I understand something happened in the early 90s with your MRF, we stand ready to assist you the day I get the call, because that's the kind of response we've gotten from this authority. And again, on behalf of the County Council, we greatly appreciate working with you on this. Particularly Danny and Mike have been just terrific to work with, and we appreciate their efforts every day. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, sir. We appreciate you coming. We're doing business with y'all as well. Thank you. Thompson.
What size footprint of the building?
The building is about 57,000 square foot. I've tried to get it smaller every chance I could is to make it smaller. I've been involved with building 2 other MRFs, and that handle more waste or recycling than this one. And I've always tried to make this footprint as small as possible, making sure that we have still adequate room and the tipping floor. So we got it down from 65,000 to around 57,000.
And is there additional storage associated with that, or is that everything under roof and all in one location?
Madam Chairman, members of the committee, the authority, Mr. Thompson, it is including about 3.5, 4 days of storage. And again, this facility has the capability of processing 102,000 tons a year of material on a 2-shift basis. I don't have more than 36,000 tons a year. And perhaps we'll, shut down at 2 in the afternoon. I don't know. There are some materials that we would be looking at. And again, I can't represent to anyone that I can take material, but obviously the Charleston County Tri-County area has material. It doesn't have a full shift worth of material. And we're looking also in counties south of Charleston to perhaps bring material in as well. But there's more than adequate capacity in this plant and the storage.
Thank you.
Mr. Gray? Mr. Gray, in microphone. Microphone.
I can't hear it that well.
Microphone. Speaking to the microphone.
I can't hear it all going in. I wanted to make sure I understood your response to Lance's question. When you started, the footprint was how many square feet, and now you got it down to how many?
Madam Chairman, members of the authority, Mr. Gray, when we started the RFP, it was 65,000 square feet. As we worked through the guaranteed price process and the design development phase, which is about 9 months that I didn't really account for here up until April of 2017, that's where I was able to get the building a little smaller.
How much smaller? What will you end up with?
From 65,000 down to 57,000.
My goodness, you earned your keep right there. If everything's gonna work and you can handle how many tons a year?
We can handle 102,000 tons a year on a two-shift operation.
How many?
102,000 tons.
On 57,000 square
Yes, sir.
feet, is that right? What was that backfill material you mentioned? I didn't quite understand that word.
The backfill is a suitable soil. In this case, it'll be sand, and the sand will be, they'll have a soils consultant on site compacting, making sure that it will meet. If there is something done with piers or pilings that maybe rock pilings or something like that's being discussed right now, we may change that soil backfill a little bit.
Right now, you're still going with the original design for the foundation, with the exception of dealing with a soil problem, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Well, we certainly do thank you very much for coming. We certainly welcome any questions or any suggestions from you at any time. And any way that we can help you, we'd certainly be happy to hear that.
Madam Chairman, thank you again on behalf of Charleston County. Thank you very much. Thank you for our association. Thank you for allowing me to work with gentlemen like Danny and Mike. As I said, they've been wonderful. They've been responsive, and it's a, we're very appreciative. This is a very quality operation. We can see it every day, and Horry County has to be very proud about this authority, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Also, I'd like to say, Ms. Lott, thank you for coming. It's been enjoyable talking to you at times, and anytime we can be of service to you, let us know. Thank you.
I don't know what I'd do without her, so, but not that is that on tape? Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it is.
I'm sorry.
He has that on tape now.
I'm sorry about that.
She will have that on her next evaluation.
Evaluation,
I
okay.
understand. That and other things, though.
Thank you. If I might, as chairman, I would like to move up. We're going to be discussing the Charleston County contract. And before they leave, if we could, if the board is okay with this, we'd like to go ahead and discuss the Charleston County contract and take a vote so that they may be aware of that before they leave and go back to their county council. That has been in your packet. Is there any board members that would like to discuss that?
I think that we went through a learning experience on both sides during the first year, and it was not the best of what we have or could have had, but we learned. And what's that old saying? How do you get experience through? Anyway, how do you avoid? Never mind, I forgot how it goes. The bottom line is that you learn how not to make mistakes through experience because you've already made them. And that was our experience, probably yours in that first year. But the contractual arrangement that we have now, that you and Danny and Mike and your staff have negotiated, is a good one. And as far as I personally am concerned, Madam Chairman, we can go as long as they want to.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gray. Are there any other board members that would like to discuss that or bring anything else up for discussion about that contract? Because we are going to vote on that. So now would be the time. Staff, do you have any recommendations, Mr. Knight?
My recommendation's on page 62, and it'd be my recommendation to go ahead and extend it for the next 6 months period. And I can honestly say that the heartaches and the headaches that we took in the first year or two of this contract had nothing to do with Charleston employees and the workforce and anything like that. But it's good to see somebody from Charleston County here because it ain't been easy. But I think it's workable. We've learned a lot about our MRF, and I think Charleston County has learned a lot about their the stuff that, they're recyclables. And so it would be my recommendation to move on for the next 6 months.
Madam Chair, I recommend that we accept the recommendation of the staff.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the request for the first extension of the recyclables processing intergovernmental agreement at our November 21st, 2017 board member. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That has passed. If you'd like to let them see a copy of that for their records. Okay. Thank you very much again.
Congratulations and good luck.
Yes, certainly, yeah. We're going to,
I see every one of those tractor trailers going in front of my desk every day. It just makes me sick, okay?
Thank y'all for coming up.
Thank you
Thank you.
very
Good to
much.
see you.
Andy, y'all have a good Thanksgiving. Tanya, have a good Thanksgiving.
Mike sees the same tractor trailers going in front of his desk.
Now, if he only rejected them before they got here,
now we know how they sleep at night. They count tractor trailers instead of sheep. Okay, we're going to go right into our departmental reports, recycling programs, and corporate affairs.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My report begins on page 15. Just a few things I want to just give you an update on. The first is our caught green-handed recipient for the month of October, Miss Crystal Ennis and her fiance, Mr. Sean Brannon, were caught recycling at the North Myrtle Beach Recycling Center. Very handsome couple there. Very avid recyclers also. They were excited about the honor. The next update I want to give you is on the McDowell grand opening. I want to thank those of you who were able to come out and attend. We had a good turnout from our staff. Mr. Loftus was there representing County Council, Mr. Gosnell, and others from county staff. We had Ms. Creech on public speaking duty that day, and she did an excellent job. Hope you saw that on TV that day. But just wanted to say thank you again for coming out that day. Special thanks to Mr. Jamie Suggs, who headed up the construction project. He did an excellent job, and to all those others that were involved.
and Esther, to you as project manager, that facility looks terrific, and all of the folks who were coming in, bringing in their loads, were astonished at the dramatic change from what was there formerly. You all did a terrific job with this new facility. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's every time I ride in now, it's just hard to imagine now that the driveway is where the old center was located. It was that first part of the driveway before you get to the first fence gate closure. So it's just amazing to see that transformation.
Esther, also, you did a great job with that. I also got a letter from someone that I would like to read for you and your staff. They say, "My wife and I have lived in Murrells Inlet for over 15 years, and we often utilize the recycling facility located just off the McDowell. Your administration is to be complimented on its recent modernization. The reason for my letter, though, is to request that at your next board meeting, you consider recognizing the personnel who labor at these facilities. Let's not forget that they are an integral and a most important part of the operation. After making innumerable trips to our facility, we have always been treated pleasantly and helpfully by every one of the workers that we have encountered there. They are to be complimented for always keeping the site clean and tidy. I suggest asking the board if they would agree to granting the attendants at the McDowell location a little extra in their paychecks as a Christmas bonus or a similar acknowledgement. They deserve it." That is from Mr. John Watkinson. I don't know if you know him personally or any
I
of
do
them.
not, and he is not an employee, so that's great. That's a
And
great letter.
I will echo his sentiments. Y'all did a great job. Everyone there was very helpful. They certainly helped everyone as we were standing there looking. And not only them, but I've been into a lot of our recycling centers, and these people have a terribly hard, wet, nasty, cold job, and they deal with the public. And sometimes that's not pleasant, but they have done an excellent job, and all of them are to be commended. I realize that you do a lot of hiring of these people and training them on a monthly basis, and you've done an excellent job. Thank you.
I will surely pass those comments along to Mr. Suggs, Mr. Casey, and our staff. And I'd love to have a copy of that to read at our next training session, which is in January.
And
Thank you.
I think, Ms. Creech, everyone that spoke at the appreciation dinner said those very same things. And we did pass out a gift to the employees for their hard work at that dinner. So, and they do. Those folks, as well as the people here, sometimes have a thankless job and they work during all, like mail, we must work. So we appreciate these type comments.
Yes, ma'am. The next update is on the Don't Waste Food SC America's Recycles Day events that were held here last Wednesday, a week ago Wednesday. This Don't Waste Food event was held in conjunction with South Carolina DHEC as well as the South Carolina Commerce Department. Very similar to events that have been held in the upstate, in Charleston, and Columbia. DHEC wanted to get into this region, them in the Commerce Department, to promote the Don't Waste Food campaign. Again, a good day, had a great turnout. When we talked about the planning of it and doing it in November, I suggested America's Recycles Day because we usually do some type of event. And I always tell Danny, I don't know who comes up with these great ideas to have all these things on the same day, back to back to back to back, because we had a full week last week, and he looks at me and says, I did. But it's okay. We got through it. Had a great turnout. Miss Pam, as well as Mr. Thompson, acted as our spokespersons that day. They did a great job. In conjunction with the Don't Waste Food SC, we had our own staff, Victoria Johnson, Kendra Hook, Cecil Terry, all out manning our event, which was the distribution of composting bins, home composting bins. And I did not think that we had as many composters in the county. Our goal was to give out at least 100 bins. We gave out over 100, it's about 115 or so, with a list of people who want to get more when we're staffed and ready to do that. So both events turned out very well. Appreciate those who were able to come out to that last Wednesday. And we will definitely, we have some more bins to give out. We're trying to hold them for free bin February again. We're just going to do a different type of bin. So we'll see how that goes. And let's see, the last thing, it's not in my packet, but it's something Mr. Knight alluded to, and that's our annual dinner. Another year of a great turnout. I want to say thank you again to the board for allowing us to continue this particular program that we do. It's the 25th year this year, and it's hard to get 100+ employees to say, yeah, I'm gonna come, and actually show up. So we have excellent turnout from our employees. All the comments we've received since then have been very positive, and everybody I've talked to have asked me to convey to you their thanks for their annual bonus. It always comes in handy, and it's most appreciated. So if you have any questions.
Just one comment.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
next presentation and speech that's going to be done, I think the vice chair in training should be given the opportunity
We can do that.
to make that presentation. He needs to get used to that kind of thing.
Absolutely, we
But
can
he's
handle it.
got to come
Well,
to
let-
the
But
meeting.
he's got to remember the meeting. We do to get
They
it.
didn't call
They
me,
didn't
I'm
call,
telling you, they didn't. Yeah. What-
The other thing, I would like to say, I talked with the gentleman from the schools. He sat at the table with us for lunch, and we talked about how they worked each of their different lunch rooms, where they got the food done aside, and we were talking about some of the restaurants or motels didn't have enough dumpster space. And he didn't seem to think they needed any extra space. And we talked about a lot of different ways, because I think he sets it up just a little bit different in the schools, and I didn't think about this, and I should have, but I would like for us to have an opportunity, maybe to look at one of the schools that he has worked out all the kinks in, so that we as board members can see how they actually do that. I did talk with him about some of his older students that he has writing papers and working that out, maybe to work with us to talk with some restaurants and motels and show them how easy it is. He feels like it's very easy, very economical. We're charging $36 for a fee on our MRF, and we're only charging $21.75, I think, for the food. So that is a great savings as far as money. And if he doesn't have any problem with us looking at how one or two of his schools are working that, so that we as a board can comprehend how that's done, because I would like for us, after this Don't Waste Food, the South Carolina Department of Commerce and DHEC want all of South Carolina to be recycling a certain amount of food by a certain date in the future. And I think that if we're going to go and talk with schools or with our churches or with retail outlets, that we need to actually see what's being done, so that when we have questions asked of us, we can explain that to them. So I'd really like for us to have an outing planned, whether it's recycling committee or what we do, but I think we just need to see exactly what they're doing.
Okay.
If you would, let's move on that pretty quick, while we got it on our minds. So, and as the chairman said, at some time, we need to go talk to the restaurants and the hotels and so forth, and if he's doing this process without adding any cans, that's a lot of the problems that they have, is we don't have the space, but we would like to see.
Last year's kickoff, Don't Waste Food, was held at CCU, and we did tour CCU's cafeteria, and then we came here to see how it was handled on site, and that was really a terrific day. This year, we did all on slides, because everyone could sit in their seats and see how it was done.
Right.
But it would be neat.
But it would, and I wish I had been able to go to that, but I did not. I don't know any other board members besides you, Mr. Ives, that did. But it would be really helpful to me to see exactly how things worked. And the Department of Commerce and DHEC, the gentleman from CCU, we talked about different places to see. And one of the things that was suggested was the Sheriff's Department at J. Reuben Long, and some of these areas, because they go through as much food and maybe waste, I'm not sure, as the schools do. And these large areas or large organizations that do that, if we as board members or staff are going to talk with them, I just think we need to see that
And
operation.
DHEC has grants available.
Right.
And we should help get that word out to the
Right.
sheriff that there are grants available, he can participate in the program and apply for a grant as well.
Okay, well,
Does the J. Reuben Long process go through a processing of separating the food and so forth that you know of?
Not like we're talking about, and that'd be one area that we could really take a look at.
Hospitals would also be
Uh-huh.
a good institution to talk to. And there are other sites like that we could visit and try to help join this program.
But it's gonna take cans of some sort.
Right.
You saw that in Ocean Drive, didn't you?
Right.
On space and.
Yeah, when we were trying to get the glass,
Yeah.
to separate the glass out.
So
But
what
they're
we'll-
portable bins, and they don't require as much as a full parking space as was suggested at the TAC committee meeting the week before last.
But in Ocean Drive, you got to drag them from the back door down through the alley to the front curb to pick them up. So there's, and I spoke along with one of the county councilmen that's in that business, and, but it's, other restaurants have started, Drunken Jack started, bless their heart. So, we'll set this tour up to where we can see how it works when Smart is gonna pick up cans, how they're done, so everybody will know what those cans look like, how they're emptied, we'll do that.
And that's the private haulers pick it up, I believe, right? Isn't there 2 or 3 of them that are picking up
Right, no, just
one?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, operations and planning.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
We're glad to see you back.
Thank you, thank you. Talk about hospitals, maybe a lot of food there, because I can firsthand attest, it's not very good.
That's why there's so much waste.
Oh, yeah. They're not gonna feed you nothing with any flavor to it at all, trust me. Okay, a few updates. Glad to be back this month. The first one's our driver of the month was Chris Sosa from Visconti Landscaping, a small company. He comes in on a real regular basis. And it's incredible, these mom and pops, how many still are coming in. When the hurricane came through, I think a lot of them went into business for the first time, and they're still out there, a lot of small businesses going. And we're seeing people we didn't see before, and I guess that's something that they're trying to make their living at now. So he's been a good guy to work with. You can see his picture was taken in the dark. He gets an early start every morning. He's in here. He works with Chris out there, you know, and our landfill folks really good. Not sure who's calling me up here. Landfill gas. We're finally getting started. We've got a lot of supplies that's been delivered, a lot of piping, not all the main piping we need, but there's a lot of that. They've been assembling some lines out there. They've got soils and other stuff up there. The work's going to be done. So it's finally getting going. They've rented all their equipment, I think, from Blanchard down the street. So even though they're out of Houston, they've rented all the equipment from a local vendor down here. So they've got 4 or 5 different pieces up there. So that's working out real good. They did their pre-con survey a couple weeks ago, and last week we had our pre-con meeting here at the office. Representatives from the engineers and from Tricon and us here. And it was one of the best pre-con meetings I think I've been in. We covered everything. It went on for about 2 hours. And we covered a lot of things with safety and making sure that, you know, everything was done. Even though it was not going to be done during the hurricane, we still made them sure that they had a hurricane plan. Just in case if we got another 300 days of rain, they'd still be here doing it. So anyway, it went really good. They're buttoning up everything today, going back home. A lot of them got, you know, a day's ride to get back to their place for Thanksgiving, spend holidays. They'll be back in Monday. And hopefully, maybe later next week, we'll start having some drilling going on. So we're getting real excited about it. And Tricon really seems to be on top of it. And we like what we're seeing out of them. So it's really good. Or made us feel real good.
Mr. Ives?
wanted to ask about whether we have the opportunity to process any more gas for power.
We will, yes, sir.
Are we working on a proposal for another generation?
That would be Santee Cooper, if they want to put another engine in there. I feel like we're going to definitely have enough to run all 3 engines out there.
Good, right, we're just operating 2?
He's just doing 2 right now, and he's getting all the gas. The only thing we're flaring, we're doing like a pilot light. And then if he shuts one down, then our flare will kick on.
Right.
And in fact, that was part of our inspection today with DHEC. They were checking all that. But yeah, he should have plenty to run all 3. And it may be running 3 in a flare. We feel like the system that is designed to really pull a lot of that liquid out of the pumps out there that was restricting some of the gas flow, that's going to be taken care of. So we should have a better flow of just the gas out there, and then the leachate's going to go down to our tanks.
We're required to flare if we're not processing, but it'd be a shame to lose that opportunity.
Oh, yes, that's one thing. I know Stephen and I, we've wanted this system put in for 10 years to really help maximize the efficiency out there.
But that's not our decision, that's Santee Cooper.
If they want to add another engine, yes, sir, that would be their decision. But if they see all that gas, if it comes through like we're hoping it will, they've got the pad built for it. And sometime years ago, we heard they had another engine on standby. So, you know, we'll see what the gas flow is, and we're looking at about 120 days to be complete.
The only reason that that we don't have the third one was because we didn't have enough gas, sufficient amount of gas, is that right?
Yeah, right now, there's about 2.5, enough for 2.5 out there. So he'll run 2, then he'll down 1, do a little maintenance on one of them, kick the third one on, and he's kind of been in a rotation like that so he can keep them all, well maintained out there.
Thank you, Bill.
But we'll keep you updated every month. We're going to give you an update on how we're doing out there. And anytime you want to come out, you want to take a ride and go out there, be glad to take you out anytime. Just give me a shout. Last thing I was really excited to talk to you all about today was our carpet recycling program. We started this back in May 2012 when we started our C&D recycling. And at that time, just before we kicked it off, Wellman came by here and they wanted to, talk to us about doing carpet recycling. And so we said, what the heck? It's no charge to us. They put a tractor trailer here. They do the hauling. The only thing we do is load it up. We've got a little bit of labor in there. But as of last month, you saw them in the report, it was 2 million tons, but that equates to over 4 million pounds of carpet that we've recycled. That's a heck of a number. And, we saved, 19 days of airspace, but 4 million pounds. I mean, that's incredible. That's in a little over 5 years we've done that. So
That's something to crow about.
yeah, and I don't think it was interesting when I was talking to them at the food conference. Some of the Commerce Department folks, I don't think there's a whole lot more people doing it. I think they've quit doing the carpet recycling. Because when I said we're still doing it, we just hit 4 million pounds. They said, y'all still doing that? And I said, yeah, we are. So that includes the padding in there too that Southeastern Environmental picks up down in Charleston. But
Is that what most of it's used for, is reconstituted padding?
they take that down there and they make, I know he was making things like when they had the oil spill in the Gulf and they were making some of those buoys or something to contain it. And of course, Wellman takes it and they process it and they're working with Ford to make car parts, especially with the radiator and the shrouds and all that.
A lot of bumpers.
Huh?
That's a lot of car bumpers.
Great, great.
Not only is that a great thing you're doing, and I'm glad that you are continuing to do that, it also helps well with the compaction. The carpet would be a problem as far as being in the landfill to begin with.
It's a pain. It really is on the compactor, the wheels and all that. It gets wrapped around them and it'll take away some of your compaction. So it's been a really good program. And, the guys out there do a good job trying to get as much as they can in a load.
I wanted to ask you, and just because I was here at the Don't Waste Food or whatever, are we having problems with people not putting their tarps up, coming in or going out? Because I noticed 3 or 4 people going out that didn't have their tarps up on their trucks.
I think one of them you saw was Blue Max.
Blue Max was.
Yeah, when he left, and they were bringing some soils in here, just some
Okay.
dirt. So I did make a call to them that when they leave, they have to have it tarped. I know we haven't really kind of bit into it maybe like we should have, but we have pulled a number of vehicles over to the side, and I know Wayne and Chris have told them, before you leave, you have to have a cart. People have dropped their trailer and gone up to whether it's Dollar General or somewhere in town and got a tarp and came back. So we're really trying to watch it as
Yeah.
close as we can and, do the best we can time-wise and catch people out there. But it was interesting, today, we had our landfill inspection, and it was one of the longest I've ever been through, 3.5 hours. But they were also doing the air quality, but one thing she noticed, both of them from DHEC, was how little bit of litter was on the landfill, and we haven't had inmates for over a month. They haven't given us any. And so, I mean, it's just, I think, just, kind of in response to your question right there, I think making sure those people have the tarps when they come in has helped keep a lot of the litter off the road and the landfill out there.
Okay. that's
We're not
great.
perfect,
Well,
I know,
no,
but
no.
we're trying. And we'll
just-
keep doing that.
Okay. I just noticed when I was coming in and out that day, there was like 3 right in a row. And I said, you know, that's really odd, because I hadn't noticed them not doing that before.
Point well taken, and we'll stay on top of it.
And of course, Bill and Chris look at, you know, if a load of limbs comes in and they've got them tied down, roped down, secure, as the state says, well, that meets what we're trying to do.
That's the objective is met.
Yeah, and I think the objective has been met because, there's a lot of tarps out there now.
It is, and really one of the biggest areas you see is the main road going down to the hills. If it's not a lot on the road, that means, you know, the loads are being tarped. So I know since we met with Mr. Knight about a week ago in the office on it, he got us in there. I know we've even talked to the operators out there about call. And today, Wayne even stepped it up, Wayne and Chris stepped it up a little bit further. We had trucks pulling off the solid waste with their doors open after they dumped their load, and they were pulled off. And Wayne was on that at 8 o'clock this morning. He told the operator, if you see one truck pull off that landfill with that door open, you call me right away. And one of them happened, and I know Chris ran out there, he drove, Wayne, I'm right here, I'll get it. But we had cleaned up an area where they had strewn a little trash out there, and we didn't want to see it again. So they're out there working them today. Just after they dumped their loads, when they pull off the working face, they had the door open. So we're even trying to clean that up.
But-
Their scales are currently down, they're putting a new building in, so we're getting a lot of they're sending all the trucks here, they've never been here before. So we're getting a lot of the first timers that are coming through and don't know about our target, and so that's been a lot of their way.
Bill, how about the, DHEC? They changed the way they're inspecting the landfills now. I know they had, at one time, it was either yay or nay and no grading whatsoever, and they've changed that. Is that right?
Yeah, last two inspections have been, you know, might as well, satisfactory, perfect, whatever. We went 3 months, I think. There was one little thing where they used to say, you know, try to get that within 24 hours. There's really nothing, and I took pictures of it just to, if anybody ever wanted to look at the inspection, how really minor it was. Of course, I guess it's your perspective. To me, it's very minor when you see a little area about the size of y'all's desk, you know, that was brown, and they think we're not controlling something, but and you just had 2 3/4 inches of rain. But, yeah, the last couple months, I did ask the inspector, I said, have you been given a directive from Columbia to come in here and find something? And she said, not to that extent. So I took that was the extent, to come in here and find something. And, but the last couple months, yeah, they're working with us.
How do they grade
Which
that?
we really hadn't had anything. I mean, today, she said, looked as good as it ever has.
How do they grade that now? I mean, at one time, they would give
Either
you
yes
a
or
one.
no.
They
Yeah,
would give
now
you
it's
a one
either
if
yes or
everything was
no.
okay, and what do they do now?
Yes or no?
Yes or no?
Right. And it could be like controlling runoff water. Like I said, we had 2 3/4 inches of rain as the size of y'all's table. And she saw a little puddle there. I mean, you know,
Is any of that posted on their website, how they grade different landfills?
I don't know if it is or not. I, you know, kind of focus on ours.
I guess what I'm
here.
saying is I would be interested to see what other people's grade is
Yeah.
throughout the state.
I mean, it's interesting when you have contractors come in here from out of state and all that, how well they say our landfill looks.
Right.
Compared to other places throughout the country. And, you know, even Vance and Craig that have so many clients up in North Carolina, you know, they said, y'all, you know, by far better than
Back
we
when he first started this new deal, Bill said he was riding with, and the road was dusty. But the water truck was coming round the curve, but it was still dusty road,
Wrote it up as a dusty road.
yeah.
Yeah, we had watered solid waste and C&D, and it takes an hour to do each area. And then it was getting back to the yard waste, and a Myrtle Beach tractor trailer came in there with a load of yard waste and kicked it up. And, I mean, the truck came in there as we were there, but we weren't controlling dust. But things are good. Things are good. The inspector's good. She works with us, and, you know, so we went so long without ever getting any kind of blemish on anything. So, you know, I had a safety inspector one time. He'd come in there and he'd find 10 things, and you'd fix them. He'd come back 6 months later, all that was fixed. Well, I'm gonna find, you know, that was his job to find something.
Right. Well, I understand it's their job to find things if there's a problem, and be reasonable. But, yes and no, and that was brought up, DHEC brought that up at Polly's Island a year or so ago and discussed that. And I think there was a lot of problems that different landfills had with that. And if we have a problem, I want to know it. I don't want DHEC to give us a break. That's not what I'm saying. But I also don't see any reason, things are not necessarily yes or no to the point that if you're doing something, you should be written up for it. So I didn't know if we needed to have a word or not.
I think we're good. You know, if it ever got to the point where they were just coming in here slamming us, and, you know, I would definitely, you know, we would ask for some help there.
Okay.
And, but you know, our inspector, you know, she's real good to work with, and, you know, I do think she was given some kind of directive to come in here for some period of time anyway, and do that. But it used to be when it was ones and twos, as Mr. Campbell said, you know, and it was kind of like, well, if you found a little something, I know you'll get it within 24 hours, and most time it was done that day, and sometimes it was done before the inspector left. There was never any kind of question. It was always a one, so.
Bill did speak to the issue at Polly's Island, and
Yes, he did.
a couple inspections after that, we didn't do very well, so, we're not a real slow learner.
Anything
Okay.
else?
Do you have any questions, Mr. Gray?
Jan mentioned that Myrtle Beach was building a building. What are they doing?
Transfer station, I think when the storm came through, from what I understand, I guess it blew the roof off of it. And so instead of taking a lot of stuff to the transfer station, they're direct hauling it to us here.
So they're not building a building?
Yeah, it's under construction, but it's
Oh.
not ready yet.
All right, just repairing okay, and they've got a Band-Aid coming up here, kind of like Charleston. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Finance and Administration.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
The financial reports begin on page 31. We should currently be at about 33.32% of our budget. As you can see in the middle of the page, solid waste and mixed construction are above budget, and yard waste is almost right at budget. So they're currently, like I said, you know, maintaining mixed construction, as you can see, is well above, which is great. Going on down, as you can see, the recyclable sales are at 41.41% of budget, so they're also well above. The C&D processing facility for the month, or for year-to-date, excuse me, their revenue is $100,386.36, with their expenses at $152,174.72, running in a little bit of a deficit of $51,788.36. However, they've saved 20.85 days of landfill airspace so far just this year. The materials recycling facility with the collection and hauling program, revenue year-to-date is $2,136,033.73, with their expenses being $1,712,343.45. They actually are running with revenue over expenses year-to-date of $423,690.28, and they've saved 19.41 days of landfill airspace. So as you can see, both of those facilities are saving quite a bit of landfill airspace in all that they're doing year-to-date. Over on page 33, which is the income statement, as you can see for the month, revenue was over expenses of $295,220.56. In year-to-date, revenue over expenses of $2,090,029.71. As you can see, our revenue's running at 40.2% of budget, and our expenses at 31.67% of budget. And so, like I said, doing a great job because our revenue's well over budget and our expenses are below budget. So again, I like to always commend staff on keeping their expenses down and saving where at all possible. Wanted to flip over to page 37. Just wanted you to kind of take a look at kind of where we are tonnage-wise as compared to last year, year-to-date. As you can see, we are down in each one of the categories. Of course, that has to do with the storm last year. You know, we had a hurricane last year. October is where we started getting a lot of material in. So, you know, like I said, we were much higher last year this time than we are this year. So that kind of, I just wanted to kind of explain why you're seeing those negatives. On page 41, just wanted to point out, Mr. Gray, I always like to kind of point this out to you. On the bottom of that page, you can see 8% of the C&D material that came in, the trucks, 8% of the trucks went over to the C&D recycling facility, and 92% went up on the hill this month. Last page I'm going to review with you is on page 45, which is on the MRF update. They had a really, really good month, and that had to do a big part, of course, with getting the material out. Mike had done a really good job of kind of holding on to that material and, you know, selling it when he could and getting it out, and as you can see, he did. Last month, we sold 1,706 tons of material, and as you can see, this month, we sold 3,050.23 tons. So they about doubled what they did last month. As you can see, the price is down, though. The average price for the month was $153. Last month, it was $164.72. So even though the price was down, the average price was down, getting the material out still gave them revenue for the month of $466,684.23. Last month, it was $281,079.43. So like I said, great bit of revenue coming in this month from the sale of the material. The incoming tonnage this month, of course, is up also a little bit, about 400 tons. Last month, we brought in 4,015 tons as compared to this month of 4,419 tons. That had to do with Charleston. They brought about 400 tons more this month. So like I said, so that was, like I said, definitely good for us as well. As you can see, there was no revenue due to or from Charleston this month. Like I said, with that average price where it is, remember, if it drops below the 150, they'll start paying us, so we'll continue to watch that. But for the month, the revenue was $466,684.23, with the expenses being $300,217.89. So we had revenue over expenses for the month of $166,466.44. Year-to-date, as you can see, our revenue is $1,806,414.13. Our expenses are $1,268,122.22. So as you can see, year-to-date, the revenue over expenses is $538,291.91. Like I said, a very good month. Like I said, Mike will kind of get into, I'm sure, you know, where the prices are going and that, but do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I wanted to flip back to page 36,
Yes, sir.
and this would probably take a little bit of pencil pushing. I don't expect you to be able to answer it today necessarily, but at one time, let's just say the orange column would be inadequate, but since that time, we've been able to increase our per ton fare $7. Are we getting closer now to where we got enough money that what needs to be done in the future?
Yes, sir, we are. Like I said, when we increased our rate increase and we're putting more money aside for closure and post-closure and our future costs, yes, sir, we're getting that much more in line. We're catching that up. Like I said, when we reach the need for it and, you know, for our next piggyback, we should have the money set aside, and at the end, when we're ready for our closure, post-closure, we will be very well funded for it. Yes, sir.
So, if not this meeting, at another meeting later on, say within the next year or so, you'll be able to say, well, based on our projections, we're good to go on how much is needed and how much we're gonna have.
Yes,
right?
sir. Our engineers take a look at that each year, and so I'll definitely have something put together for you to kind of show exactly where we'll be. They do kind of a projection all the way out to the end of time, as I call it, and so I'll have them update that for us, and I'll get you a copy of that for the next meeting. That won't be any problem.
Next meeting, you said?
Yes, sir. They should be able to probably well, maybe not December's meeting. We'll say January's meeting, because I know December's is in a couple of weeks.
But by January's meeting, I'll have Vance and them update that projection,
That was one of our biggest concerns in
right?
requesting a fair increase, and so we'll be able to show, well, our numbers are, the stars are aligning.
That's right, they're coming closer together, yes, sir.
Thank you.
They're coming together, but everything will not be caught up next year.
No, sir.
This
That-
is over
This is,
so
that's,
many years that the income will catch us up. But
right, as we finished our last construction project, we won't put any more money aside for construction because we don't have a plan for anything in the future. So all the money we're currently putting aside for construction will then go towards closure and post-closure. So like Mr. Knight said, exactly, it's still gonna show that we're gonna need that money, continue to put that money aside until we finally close the landfill. And by that point, when it's needed, we'll have it available, but that's
Yeah, I
right.
get that. I was talking about the future point when
Exactly,
flex, right? Okay, thank you.
yes.
You're also keeping a good tally on that to see if we meet our projections in a year or two, we may go up another dollar,
That's right,
and will let us know ahead of time if that needs to be discussed.
yes, ma'am.
What'd you say about another dollar? Do we get more money?
Well, we could possibly, if we need that, we did it on a sliding scale instead of going up the whole amount. We went up the $7, and then within another period of time, if we don't have the amount we need to put in each of those accounts, we have the option of going up another dollar a year until we get to that point. So I just wanted to make sure she was keeping a good tally of that.
Well, that means that the agreement or whatever permission slip from county council has got as needed in there if it needs to be
That's
adjusted.
right. That is in the agreement with county council. We had that done when we went through that difficult process.
That was a good move. Did they put a ceiling on it?
Well,
I think we said
we
over the-
did
over the
have a
next-
certain amount that we would get to, and then we would have to relook at things all over again, but that would be a while.
Right,
Okay, well, I'd be interested in knowing what the ceiling is.
okay,
But it's good to know that we're moving in that direction. Doesn't look like we're gonna even need in any material way to increase the rates. If we do, we got our backside covered.
exactly, yes,
Got
sir.
some smart people around this place, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Recycling services and special projects.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
On page 50, I want to talk a few minutes about that. I put some numbers together here for myself to try to let you know. Last year, in FY16, the first 4 months of the year, we took in around 14,069 tons into the MRF. And this year, we've took in 16,656, which is an increase of 15% over last year in the same 4 months. And our revenue has increased by 19.26% increase over last year at the same time. So we definitely had an increase in tonnage, but we had a way more increase in revenue, which is good, which I thought was good. Our commodity pricing, as Jan said, last month our cardboard was at $122 a ton. Last year in October, same month, same year, it was at $140, so it was $20 lower this October. And the same thing happened with newspaper. It was at $129 in October, but it was $20 lower than last year. And office paper last year was at $181, and this year is at $162. So all your fiber prices were down. This month we had definitely a better month. Our prices for cardboard is at $180.13. So it went back up by about $60 a ton. And news went up by $20 a ton. And office paper went up by about $14 a ton. So we did have some increase in fiber prices. I'm sure the ones of y'all is looking at any kind of recycling news at all knows that China set their rate for contaminations at 0.03%. And they did change that about a week ago to allow for up to 1%. But that's still tough. Before this green fence come into place for contamination, we were running about 1 to 1.5% contaminations and throws. And so we definitely, we've done everything we can to tighten it up a little bit more, try to do that. What other MRFs has done is added a lot more labor. We've not done that yet. We've tried to continue to work within what we got. We got a budget, we're trying to stay within it. So, and we've been lucky to be able to get rid of it this month.
That's what I was gonna ask you. I'm sure it would be the labor that would be cleaning that up, and we haven't added any more labor, but we have gotten it cleaner
Yes, ma'am.
than we have. Any of the new machines that we were talking about putting in the MRF, would that help to clean any of that up?
Well, the only thing is, you know, as we've talked in the past, there's all kinds of machinery out there. The question is, when you get your rate of return back in, you know, when you throw that rate of return in, Charleston keeps putting off finishing their MRF, we might be able to pay for one of these time things. But that's the key when Charleston goes away, and it's gonna be like a vacuum over there. And we don't wanna put ourselves in a position that when Charleston's gone, we don't have the money to support our depreciation on that type of equipment. That's our thing. We did have, as I wanted to make the board aware of, we did have one company this month bid higher on some fiber. It was about $5 higher than anybody else. Because of some situations in the past where they had bid and won and did not pick it up during the month as they were obligated to do, we did award it at the second bidder at $148. Just wanted to make you all aware of that. And that was news.
What do you do if someone makes that bid and then doesn't pick it up? Are they still allowed to bid? Is there any?
Well, what we did, we hadn't done anything in the past. What we've done this time before we would award it to that buyer is we said, look, we want to let you know up front that if you don't pick it up, that you won't be allowed to bid for 6 months. So you won't be able to bid on any of our commodities for 6 months. By the time we got through with the conversation, he couldn't get rid of the material, and I went to the next lowest bidder. Wanted to make you all aware of that just because, you know, somebody said, we always comment, we take the high bid, but sometimes the high bid is just not it. And I didn't want to have a situation where I couldn't get rid of the material.
There was just $5 a ton difference, you said?
Yes, sir.
But you had experience with this?
He had brought on a situation at least 2 times within the last 4 months.
Well, I think that was a good thing on your part to discuss that with him, because you couldn't stand to have that happen right on.
We didn't take this decision lightly. We looked at ways, and we keep looking at ways to tighten down. You can't expect them to put up a bid bond. That's too expensive. But what some of them are doing, they'll lock it in, and you may have 10 truckloads, and he'll get out there and hustle up 1 truckload someplace and let you sit on the rest. And then to get rid of it, you have to go back, and then people smart enough to know to jam you in with the material. So they play with the figures. So we'll just keep getting their attention.
As Mr. Knight said, when I called him to discuss this issue, he said, I really hate to give that money up. But I just think we'd give up more money in the long run if we hadn't made a decision what we got.
Is that information on where the pages?
No, sir. I didn't put it in writing. Something I wanted to talk about because I didn't want to call the name of any buyers or anything. Any questions?
You can whisper in my ear as you walk by.
Okay.
Mr. Bessett, you're doing a good job working that market, man, and of course, that's what it's all about. That was the reason you lost money, 2 months ago?
September.
You had your material stored, and you came back and sold it, and made, you're doing a good job.
Relieved to see the prices bounce back up.
Right.
A little concerning.
Didn't even have to buy any containers. We were talking about that at one time.
Right. You are doing an excellent job
Thank you.
helping your co-employees. They are very appreciative, and your supervisors, we do appreciate you. You're an asset to this corporation.
Well, I want to say it is not me, it is everyone. It is not just at the MRF, it's everyone at this organization. Every one of us is tasked by that MRF. We live and die by it, and Every time Charleston says 3 more months, I lose a couple days off my life.
How about the storage area? Had any more conversation about that?
We are working on it. Danny might want to share a light on that at some point in time.
We're looking at another angle on it right now, but it's fresh on our mind, and we haven't put it on the back burner. Still trying to make it work.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. Executive Director, you're up.
Thank you, ma'am. On page 58, update on the management plan. We've had our first meeting on November the 6th. New members were selected, old ones reseated, and 3 new members would be Michael Allen with Allen Scrap Metal, Jeremy Mundy from Coastal Carolina, and Greg Sponseller from the school district. Since that meeting, we have gotten 2 pages of requests from HDR, and I call this grunt work. It's just getting information from the chamber, getting information on building permits, stuff like that really the committee wouldn't have any way to get, and we can get it quicker. So we're putting all that stuff together. We've already sent them a box full, and our next meeting is December the 11th at 9 o'clock here. So we'll invite everyone to come.
That was an interesting meeting. There was a lot of good discussions. I was really very happy to see that we had 3 county councilmen here, 1 mayor, and some city council people here. So it certainly has sparked some interest. I'm glad we sent each and every one of them individually an invitation.
You left the delegation off that invitation. We should have had some of them here.
We'll send them to next.
That's a good suggestion.
That is a good suggestion.
You might want to send them one.
I have some objectives for the state, I hope, come out of this panel.
We did discuss working with the state and some of that. It was a very interesting meeting. Any of you as board members that would like to come and listen to that, I think you would get a lot out of it. Any of the people that you know on county council or city council or any of the mayors, please do invite them when you see them and tell them we're interested in them being here, and let them know when these meetings are. And if you have any suggestions for these meetings or information you want discussed, please do let the staff.
The 2
know.
representatives from Surfside had never been here before.
No, they haven't.
So I think it was just asking went a long way.
Yeah, I
That was
think
the
so.
mayor and, that was the mayor and
The city
his
council.
assistant, right. But, Don had been here before, I believe.
Council member Orr.
Oh,
Yeah,
He was 2 council members.
right. So I was very happy. That is the largest turnout of officials that I've seen in the 4 years I've been here. And hopefully we will have more coming in the future. New business roundtable discussion. Does anyone have anything they would like to discuss with the board?
I just would like to say to Miss Esther that I've seen some of the ads. I want you to listen to me. I've seen some of the ads that you put on TV. We got this little 3-year-old, and she watches this thing called Peppa Pig, and you know all those characters. And it's actually an English production, but I've noticed that your ad, you got at least one ad that's built along the lines of a Peppa Pig story line about recycling, and that was a good pickup, and I compliment you for that. We've all said if you teach the young'uns, it's like building church attendance. If you can get the children to come to Sunday school, you can get the big. Some of them go to that church you go to.
Church of the Lost and Found.
There ain't no children there.
Let's not lose any.
This old timers is what you got there.
I'm on the pound side.
Under old business, we have a discussion on the 1187 acre property usage policy consideration. Has everyone read that in their package, and does anyone have any comments?
It's as we discussed.
Don't make me think you didn't read your package again, Mr.
yes.
Campbell.
Miss Madam Chair, I did, yes.
Okay.
I
Spent
do
the
have a
whole day.
question, because this brings up two subjects that I don't recall us covering, and that is that this agreement is not going to affect existing agreements with Riverstone and Coastal Carolina Botanical Bank. I think we did talk about Botanical Bank, but I don't know what the Riverstone agreement is.
Riverstone agreement is, we have a common road that runs to the back of the 1187, to the 100 acres that would be storm debris if we ever have to need it. Well, that road meanders across the property lines. Part of it's on them, sometimes it's part of it's on us. And we have to have a dance partner to work the road. And I didn't want anything, their hunting rights, if they lease their property, say, you can't drive on our portion of the road. So I didn't want to get into that further down the road.
And that's why you've been talking to them about trying to work out some type of
Yeah,
swap with them.
we were,
Minister,
we were going to put a new road in, totally on us. And the Corps came back and said, hey, you got a good road. Just work out some kind of joint use agreement with the other property owner.
I got you.
And we have done that, and hopefully we can continue to work with the property owners in that area.
Thank you.
Have we heard anything from the property owner at all?
Yes, and I will tell you after this meeting.
Thank you.
Any other discussion about the certificate of resolution? Okay. Well, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt this proposal, this resolution.
I second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? The ayes have it. Mr. Knight, we need to put that in there. Okay, we do not have an executive session. We do have a reminder. I want to remind everyone that your December board meeting will be held on Thursday, December the 7th at 3 o'clock. And for those of you that don't look at your emails when Miss Esther reminds you, you need to make sure and write this on your calendar when you get home.
Little book.
Hold it, I got it right here.
Okay. So that is my reminder. Unless there's any more comments or discussion, we will entertain a motion,
Happy Thanksgiving to all.
yes, to adjourn. So moved. We are adjourned.
Good meeting.